Hello there. So I heard you want to make a website, and as a guy with his own website, I think I can help. This video is basically me spreading propaganda on why you should make a website, and as somebody who has his own website on the indie web hosted on neocities, all terms I shall explain, I just want to make this video as a little starting point for anyone who is considering making their own website, whether it be to move away from social media or because they've seen cool indie websites and they want to join the club. This video won't have any actual code in it, but if you think I should make a coding 101 and how to start your own website, then please let me know, because I would love to make that video. So to start, a couple reasons why you should make a website. A big one for a lot of people is to move away from the algorithm. Websites don't work algorithmically. Like, the way I have found most other websites is that I've seen one cool website and then they have linked to a load of other websites, and then I explore those. And it's like an interconnected web of sites that each have each other on their page and can be found through things like web rings and fan listings, which are specific communities on the web. And so there's no pressure to gain likes or followers, although followers is something you can have depending on your website hoster. And there's also no pressure to make a certain type of post or a certain amount of posts or update on a regular schedule. It is completely up to you. You know, your website is first and foremost for you. And so the way you make it and the way you present it and the way you operate behind the scenes is completely customizable. Speaking of customizability, that is a huge part of making a website, and the bit that I definitely love. I have this dumping ground that I can just tailor to be anything I want it to be. There are so many different types of websites, so many different things that people host on their website. For example, I do a lot of media reviews on my site because I consume a lot of media. Some people make sites dedicated to hosting coding resources. Others are archival sites, whether that be recreations of old websites or sites that hold information that is not readily available elsewhere. And there are some people that recreate specific UIs, such as Windows XP, and their site looks like Windows XP, which is incredibly nostalgic for me. And also to engage in, 2000s and 90s web activities, such as web rings, fan listings, but also having things like blinkies and stamps on your website, and just that thing of a stripped back space that you can kind of play in, I feel is very 2000s in our minds compared to now the worlds of Blue Sky and others, and Tumblr. There we go. Community is a big part of it, of course. I really enjoy the community that I'm a part of and that I'm kind of starting to build. It's I can find these just people like myself who are making sites and talking about them, and it feels a lot more genuine, partially because it takes so much time and effort to create a website that I at least haven't come across any people that are disingenuous for nefarious purposes. Obviously some people value their own privacy, and that's absolutely fair enough. And that's the great thing about it as well, is you can be as private or open as you wish to be, and you have full control over that and over what's seen. And finally, you might just find out that you love coding. I, over the last 10 months now that I've been coding regularly, have just found that I really enjoy HTML and CSS. I love having learnt it and continuing to learn it and continuing to problem solve. A huge part of the site for me is the fact that there's always something to fix and there's always something I can improve on and change or make, and I find that really addictive. It scratches something very particular for me. So where should you start if you are wanting to indulge in all of these things? I would recommend thinking first about what you want on your site, the content of it. Are you going to be doing blog posts and reviews? Is it going to be personal, impersonal? Is it to document your wardrobe and fashion? Like, what exactly are you hosting on there? Is it more for you? Are you creating resources for other people? Because all that will dictate both the aesthetics of the site and the kind of code, I guess, you implore. But don't worry about the coding now. As I say, focus on what you want on your site, and if you don't know yet, that's also fine. I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself though a little bit, so let's go back to what even is the indie web. There is an organized community and a website called the indie web that has a particular ethos. I think it's like 10 different things. The 11th is like have fun, but it's all about being open about code, being for people first and machine second, and stuff like that. That is a particular community, and they do like run events and stuff like that, and a lot of people who are indie websters are also part of the indie web capital. But just the indie web as a whole is just the name for anyone who is, I guess, creating their own website and hosting it on somewhere either by themselves or through a website hoster. Anyone that's curating their web experience in such a way outside of organized sites such as Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, so on and so forth. Not everyone who's part of the lowercase indie web follows the ethos of the capitalized indie web, and there are some crazy websites out there, so be careful. But just being in community with people who have taken the decision to like make their own site is just very cool, I find. So I mentioned hosting your website. You can do this yourself if you want, like just, I don't even know how to do it anymore, just like publish the site to the internet, but it's very hard to be in community in that way. So a lot of people turn to website hosters such as Neocities and NecoWeb. I think they are the two most popular, neocities being the more popular of the two, partially due to its age, and it came after the fall of GeoCities, which was again a website hoster during the 2000s in particular. So these sites are places where you can input your code after you've, maybe typed it up in Notepad, you whack it onto NeoCities or NecoWeb, and now it's on the web. I find it really important to dedicate time to just exploring other people's sites as well as creating my own, to really feel like in community and to do the work in that sense. I will also comment on people's updates, and I think commenting in general is really important for all of the internet. So, onto the coding. How do you code? Where do you find HTML resources? Well, W3 Schools is definitely the most popular place, I would say, to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and so on. They do have HTML and CSS courses where you can go through step by step and learn HTML in an ordered way. But it's just great as a resource. Pretty much any time I Google, how do I do this in HTML or CSS, the W3 Schools is one of the first sites to come up, and I find they're really straightforward in the way they explain things. Of course, other web users make web resources. There are quite a few websites that I really love that are dedicated to, in part or in whole, to having resources, whether that be tutorials or actual snippets of code that you can copy and add to your site. I think this is really great because it's by people who are actively using the web in a similar way that you are, and in the indie web community, they've found a problem that you might be encountering and have fixed it. Of course, YouTube, hello. Like, YouTube is a great place for learning to code. I find it much more helpful to hear somebody explain code to me rather than to read it and just look at code. And the last way to code is to trial and error brute force it. This is my favorite way of coding, and it's the way I code most. I'm very I just try and figure things out, and I have an idea of something in my head, and then I try and reverse engineer it rather than building up from the code. Yes, of course, I've made a lot of mistakes, but making those mistakes and correcting them is a lot more effective for me than learning via a step-by-step tutorial. I think that's everything for this video. Please go and check out my website if you're so inclined. Make sure to look at my neighbors and other websites that I really like. As I say, maybe I'll make a coding 101 video where I'll actually show you how to learn, set up, and start your own website. But for now, I do have some links to resources on my website and I would recommend checking them out. Thank you for watching this video, and maybe I will see you again around this cozy corner of the internet. Bye!